Hey everybody, it's Monster, and I'm back. And I figured for the first actual content video, I'd start with something perhaps a little bit simple just to get in the swing of things. Go with a good old-fashioned Gunpla model. Gunplay. I don't know how it's pronounced. I don't really care. Honestly, I just like them because of the kit, because of the technology, and the cartoons are really cool. So I'm not too particular on the pronunciation. Feel free to correct me if you'd like. No guarantee that I'll remember it though. But for the kit that I chose, I figured I would do the Msm-03 Gogg, just because it kind of continues in more or less my pattern of doing maybe a unique mobile suit like Gundam Kamaris from Iron Blooded Orphans, and then doing like say an amphibious suit. But for me, honestly, just because I like the oddball designs, I figured I would do I do try and work my way through all the major amphibious mobile suits, the ones that are purpose built, not the ones that are heavily modified like the Zaku Mariner or the Z Zulu. So for the first one that I ever did for the amphibious line was the what I think is probably the pinnacle of amphibious technology for the Gundam universe, which is the Msm-03C Hguc. I just love this thing. It's just so unique, and to me, I loved it. It was a good chance to get kind of like that rust detail and stuff like that, a little bit of practice there. Um, Actually, I take that back. No, the first one I did was with the Hguc, but that was before I really got into making videos. The kit originally came in very much a kind of bright prototype red color, kind of like Char's Gilgug down here. It's kind of that same color, although a little bit more red and less pink. But I gave that kind of a deep blue and gray color scheme because I figured this thing would be walking along the bottom. Then came the Hguc, which to me that was it was a pain in the butt, but it was really satisfying to work on. Just because I figured out a lot of like different things I could do to help paint and add detail. And then the next amphibious mobile suit and the most recent video I've done is actually for the Hguc. This is the mass production variant, not Char's mobile suit. I got the mass production just because I figured the blue plastic and purple plastic and stuff would make it a lot easier to paint. And it was also the first time I did any sort of kind of camouflage paint scheme. So you can kind of see it kind of like starts off dark here at the bottom, kind of goes up to a lighter blue. And then here up at the front, it's kind of a medium blue and then goes up kind of like into the light blue. I wound up having to add detail to that because it was just a blob. I mean, the camouflage worked a little too well. But the reason why I chose the Gogg as my next one over the, say, the Kapul or the Yak Guy was just because it's very simple to put together. It has been a little bit since I've built a model. And once it's actually put together, you can see right here, it's a fairly simple structure. Pretty broad shoulders. Just something easy to sand, easy to paint, and then something that left a lot of room for extra detail, especially like along these segmented arms up here. But instead of keeping the brown and the beige color scheme, I figured I would go more along the lines of maybe kind of like a primer gray, black, and then an olive drab. But with any major repaint, first comes the prep, and it's on to the sanding. I got like a whole bunch of different types of sandpaper from testers, and so yeah, I'll be working my way through sanding all these little bits and pieces, and I'll get back to you guys when it's all done. Hey everybody, just a quick update. I kind of had some ideas while I was going through and actually sanding my Gogg model. So you can see I've already kind of gone over this thing by hand. I used some tester sandpaper, which, I mean, you can see basically the abrasive starting to come off. So I don't think I'm going to be buying any more tester sandpaper. So instead I just had a plain old sheet of 120 grit sandpaper lying around, and I had an idea. Because like obviously human hands, they're precision instruments, but at the same time they're not. Especially when you have, like, say this is the top portion of the hand for the Gogg. You can kind of see like right in there. It's just a lot of like little fine details, places human fingers plus sandpaper, not really all that great at getting into, and you can see the damage that trying to do something like that did to the sandpaper. It wore through it pretty quick just because it's not designed to be crinkled over and over and over again. So what I did is I just took some regular 120 grit sandpaper and just a regular eraser, and took a little bit of super glue. I glued down the one side just to save time on this little demonstration. And basically, let me see here. Go ahead and put some glue on there. ahead and glue this side down, pull it nice and tight so that way it stays put. Oop, I don't want to glue myself down. That would have been bad. And you can see right there that the sandpaper actually went over that corner pretty good. So I just got to wait for this to go ahead and dry. So I'm give it a minute or two, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the glue has dried, and this is basically kind of like the end product. You can see the sandpaper got pulled over the edge of the eraser there, so I could kind of use it. Not a super sharp crease, but it's a lot better for getting in kind of like the cracks and crevices, kind of like in here. So let's go over here. Not only that, but putting, at least in my opinion, putting the sandpaper over the edge of an eraser like this makes it a lot easier to actually work with here. And actually that's scuffing it up a little bit too much, but whatever. But long story short, that's just kind of a general idea. Obviously, like this is way too coarse for models, so I'm going to have to basically do something over here on the other side, maybe a finer grit. But yeah, makes it a little bit easier to hold and a little bit easier to sand. So hope I gave you guys a decent idea. Catch you later. Hey guys, just another quick little idea that I had, because I'd seen it somewhere before, so I'm not taking credit for this idea at all, but it is an absolutely killer idea. For me, like in a couple of my videos, the way that I wound up painting my models was I literally just laid the pieces out on like some cardboard and just let them sit there, and that wound up with some things like when I spraying them down with primer, the primer would pool at the base of the part. You know, if I like sprayed it like a little too much maybe. And so I was just going through, you know, looking at like little Gunpla tutorials and stuff like that. And one of the ideas that somebody had was they took basically some skewers like you would make like with like a shish kebab or something like that, like at a barbecue. And they took some alligator clips and they would use those to hold onto the parts and then stick them into a bed of foam. Well, I didn't have access to alligator clips, at least not right now. But I did have access to little bitty clothespins. So I basically went to Walmart, got some popsicle sticks, take the same little bit of super glue, and slide it around on there. And then you just take the little paper clip and you just leave it there, and then just let that dry for a minute or two, and then you basically wind up with something like this. And you know, all this stuff, like 150 popsicle sticks is like $2 at Walmart, and then you know, these things are maybe $3 and you get like maybe 50 or 60 of them. So they're actually, I think this is, you know, it's a pretty good use of money. And then of course, like in this case, this is the groin for my Gogg, and literally just clamp that on there, and then stick that in a bed of foam, and then you can spray paint successfully with having as much coverage as possible with, you know, minimum kind of blank spots, if you will. So yeah, just another idea to kind of go along with the eraser idea. And this is just a little bit finer grit, and went over it again, and that's basically what something like this does. So yeah, see you guys in the next time. Okay, I'm back after the little side projects of making the little popsicle stick part holders, and then of course the base, and coming up with a little bit of a, hopefully a better sanding technique. It's all pretty much done. Now I just gotta take a little bit of primer and go over everything. So yeah, that's what's up next. Enjoy. Hey everybody, priming process is all done. As you can see, I've already kind of sorted the parts out. I've got them mostly color separated. The ones that are still in the foam, which I'm getting ready to paint, are going to be olive drab. The ones that are in this box, as well as a couple of small unpainted piece right there, it's going to be used for something else. Those are all going to be flat black, and then that's primarily going to be the amount of color separation, as well as Of course, little details like maybe like gunmetal for like the turbines in the bottom of the feet. Maybe some other kind of accent colors if you want to call them that, but for most part, it's just going to be flat black and olive drab, and with appropriate rust and chipping and dirt and everything. So I will go ahead and paint this and get back to you when the olive drab parts are done. Okay, all the olive drab touch-ups are complete. For this next one, I'm going to be taking everything that's going to be flat black and be giving it just a normal kind of rattle can spray coat. This isn't going to be the... Oopsie. This isn't going to be the entire paint job. There's going to be a lot more that goes into it. This is mostly just to get kind of like the good base coats all set up. Maybe without actually coating my own hand in the process, but whatever. So I'm actually still putting them in the little foam block. It's just off screen, so that way there is minimal risk of me accidentally flat coating or giving, basically trading paint, if you will. Okay, so next little entry. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen, at least with the Gogg, is the fact that despite this kind of big old headpiece, it doesn't have, and because of the age of the kit, obviously, because it's made back in like 2000 or something like that, it doesn't have a moving mono eye. So I figured I'd try and do something about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Dremel tool, and you can kind of see, let me see if I can get that kind of faint green line kind of right there. Let's see if I can get that better focus. Yeah, right about there. I've already marked out where I want the path to go. I'm just going to take this little kind of Dremel bit and basically carve out a line in the visor, and then you can kind of see I've already done it with this piece right here. But let me see here. You can kind of see I kind of flattened out the edge right there. I'm going to do the same thing except for that little gray piece right there. So basically make almost a washer or rivet type deal, and then just kind of seal it off with one of these little, where'd it go? This little plastic gem piece right here. So I find these at Walmart for I don't even know how much. So here goes nothing. See if we can get the light a little bit better here. Whoa. Okay, so far so good. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I basically carved out the little gap in the visor with this little bit of the runner. Oop, wait a second. a little bit of the runner being able to fit in there pretty nicely. Sorry, I'm trying to get the lighting as decent as possible. So all I gotta do now is I'm gonna expand the, what we'll call the rivet head, I guess, just a little bit. And basically how I'm gonna do that is take basically a drill bit, go ahead and heat up the reverse end with a lighter. This is a butane lighter, so it actually burns really, really hot. Heat that up. This should be good. And then take this and just press that on there while it's still hot. Heat that up a little bit more. Not quite there yet. Nope. You can kind of see how it's expanded out just a little bit. So I just gotta wait for this thing to cool off so I can go ahead and pull the plastic off without breaking it. And there we go. That was easy. So just expanded it ever so slightly so that way the fit is a little bit tighter. So go ahead and put that in the gap. And yeah, that should allow it to move back and forth relatively easily. I don't know if you guys can see that, but slide back and forth and then put one of those little gemstones on the inside. And then I'll have to paint the inside of the gap with a paintbrush, but that'll help tighten things up so it doesn't move around quite as much. So anyway, I'll come back when that's done. Okay, so got the little kind of eyeball washer, we'll call it, finished. Cut it down to size so that way it wasn't sticking out nearly as much. You can see the back of it there. I had to redo it just because I wound up clipping the original just a little too short, but hopefully it shouldn't show up too much, especially once the inside is completely painted black. But you can see right there, it actually allows it to move around a little bit. Actually gives it a little bit of depth. And yeah, I might actually, now that I think about it, I might go in there and cover it up with like a little bit of film or something like that, just something to help kind of close in that gap. But yeah, I think for a little side project, give this thing a little bit more expression, I think it worked out pretty good. And let's see if I can get an actual decent close-up here. So of course there'll be up close shots when the entire model is done, but I think for now that I actually do pretty good. So I'll clean this up and be back in a little bit. Okay, just a quick update. So all the spray painting is done. In addition to the parts I got here on the little foam thing, I got the remainder of the pieces where I didn't have clips for them kind of sitting in here. And I did things in a little bit of different order after I was done because I've still got some details to do and I didn't necessarily want to get them mixed too much. After I had each coat done with the priming and then painting its base coat, I gave it just a very thin layer of enamel, of dull coat enamel. So up next is going to be the actual assembly of the main body parts, so like the arms, the legs, the body, yeah, pretty much just assembling the different sections of the body. And before I actually fully assemble it, I'm going to go through and detail each piece. And I did something just a little bit to add a little bit more visual interest with the chest piece. I went ahead and kind of gave this thing almost like a, I don't know, like a bumper. Just something I cut off the runner to give this thing a little bit more visual interest. And you can see it kind of scratched up a little bit right there. But I'm going to go back over that with a brush and then just in general just clean it up as much as possible. So, but after I'm done cleaning up all the bits and pieces and adding the detail, I will will definitely be back. Alrighty, preliminary assembly is pretty much done, and I couldn't wait, so I just wanted to put it together and see how it looked. And I gotta say, I'm really satisfied with the paint scheme that I picked. But yeah, so pretty much what I'm gonna do is very carefully, basically pull this thing back apart. So like basically like pop the arms off, pop the legs off, probably the head too, which I'm really proud of that eyeball because it takes a little bit, but it can be moved back and forth like that. You know, like I said, it takes a bit, but you can get it to move, like so. And then, of course, just move it back to center. But joints are all just a tad stiff. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean, there's a couple layers of paint. But like say in these little kind of seams, like right in here, would be a perfect place for rust. Maybe some rust strips in here. I'm gonna go back inside the mega particle cannons and put like kind of like a metallic red in there just to give a little bit of contrast. And I really like the fact that it's kind of red on green. But yeah, I don't think that paint scheme looks too bad. So the only thing that I haven't assembled is the jetpack or the rocket pack, whatever it happens to be. And the reason why is because I've always liked hazard stripes. I did those on my gun tank early type, which those are hand done. They're not stickers. They're used basically masking tape and paint brushes. So I was gonna do something similar for the jetpack, and I don't know, maybe I might add another kind of like another bar in there, paint that gray just to give it a little bit more contrast, something to kind of go with those shades of gray for the knee pieces. But yeah, so now it's just kind of going on into kind of some of the final details. So I'll be back when all that stuff is donezo. Unless I make a video doing hazard stripes and then rust and everything. So catch y'all later. Alright, so I'm just going to roll right into doing the backpack hazard striping. So what I did is I got some of the thin, what company makes this? Tamiya masking tape. I honestly, a lot of people reference Tamiya. I remember that because I watch a lot of Gundam videos on YouTube, but I can't remember the name, and I don't use their paint, at least not yet anyway. So eventually I'll branch out, but not for today. So basically what I'm going to do is I've got 2 layers of the masking tape, and this second layer down here has pretty much already been kind of cut to size, really, and then the upper one's not so important because that's just going to be to keep the yellow stripes from trying to bleed up into the rest of the pack. But now, very carefully, as carefully as I can, I'm going to take a little razor blade. Going to go ahead and try and peel that off without scratching the paint. Just know so that way I can get, actually, see if I can use these pliers. And the reason why I cut this up like this into the right size is so that way when I give the stripes their slant, it's still going to look all organic. It's not going to look like it's just kind of done piecemeal. So next thing to do is basically take a pen or like a marker. So see if this thing's still living or not. I don't think it is. Oh, it is. Cool. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and kind of do something like that. I don't know if you can see it kind of added a very slight red stripe. And that's just going to be, I'm not going to be super precise about this. I'm just going to take similar length stripes or similar width, and then I'm going to take that razor blade and cut the pieces out and then alternate them on here so that way all the black pieces they're good, and then whatever is going to be yellow is still going to be exposed so that way I can paint it. So I'm back when that's done. Okay, so the little kind of taping process is done. Literally all I did was just lay them out, draw stripes on them, and then try to keep them more or less evenly spaced around the base of the backpack. And next thing to do is to cover all these little black spots with yellow paint. So back after this done.